Oh, cool. That'll be the first sound on the recording.
No, it started it. I'm sorry.
Welcome to Recapping Romantasy, hot takes on hot literature. Who are we?
We are me, Maura.
I am Tabitha.
And I am Emma. Recapping Romantasy contains mature content from fairy smut to dragon rider torture to monster genitalia. Be sure to check the episode notes for content warnings and the links to our socials. And speaking of socials, you might have heard of this newish reading app called Fable. It's kind of more like social media than just like tracking your reading stats. I don't know. It's very cute. But we started a book club on it, and we invite you to join us. So we'll cover the book that we're reviewing in our next episode, and like the end date for that read will be when our episode comes out, so you can read along with us, tell us your thoughts, or just enjoy the very cute aesthetics of the app.
And that is Fable, F-A-B-L-E.
Yeah, thanks.
So, Emma,
Yes.
what are we reading today?
I was getting there. Today, we are talking about A Court of Frost and Starlight, which is the fourth book in the ACOTAR series, but it's listed as 3.5 because it's a novella.
Yeah.
I think you could not read it
Yeah.
and not miss anything of the major
No.
plot.
No, someone maybe my cousin was like, I didn't read it. And I was like, genius.
Absolutely unnecessary
Yeah.
in all ways.
It's a novella in the sense that it's shorter than the other books in the series, but they're all like 500 to 700 pages. And this is still 250 to 270-ish, depending on which version you're reading.
Yeah.
It's not, in my opinion, like a full novel because nothing happens, and it's not a novella because nothing happens, and it's just a waste of space because nothing happens.
Trees died for this.
See, I listened to the graphic audio again.
Of this?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Definitely hit the major points. I mean, winnowing still sounds like a fart because I'm listening to it at double speed. The guy who plays Rhysand seems to not pronounce a lot of stuff right. Like he says library.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You talked about that another
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's rough.
Yeah. Definitely an experience.
I tried to actually listen to the graphic audio for this, and I only listened to it on like 1.25 because I can't comprehend anything. And I couldn't listen to it because the girl who does Feyre's voice and also like reads the whole novel sounds like an anime character, and I don't know if that's just what graphic audios sound like, but the way she was talking, I was like getting PTSD from like middle school, like so I couldn't.
Yeah, I've listened to the graphic audio of this. I've listened to the normal audio of this. And because I couldn't comprehend either of them, I had to stop and read the actual book, the ebook. And so I've read it 3 times.
Now
and,
you just need to read a physical copy.
Yeah.
And you'll get all
It'll
of
be
it.
complete.
Yeah.
I will say, I was listening to this on headphones, and granted, for at least half of it, I was kind of stoned. The soundtrack was really intrusive.
Yeah.
On this one.
I've heard other people say that in the graphic, not just this graphic audio, but in all graphic audios, like because it's the one company that does it basically, that
Yeah.
the background noise is way too loud.
It could have been quieter.
It can
Yeah.
be really distracting, especially depending on the scene that they're trying to act out.
Yeah.
If it's like an action scene, it gets
Yeah,
kind
like
of
swords
wild.
crossing.
Yeah.
When they have sex, does like the bed creak in the background?
No, but they do get really breathy and moody.
Do they?
They do,
Oh.
yeah. And also
Interesting.
the background music continues. It's there constantly.
Yeah.
Is it like
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
A little. This is true.
Amazing. So yeah, that's what we're talking about today. Not the graphic audio, just this book, I mean. And in case you forgot what happened in the other books, so in the first book, Feyre gets abducted to a fairy land by a man. Then she falls in love with this man. Then she paints some things. Then saves the fairyland by defeating an evil fairy. Then she dies, and she comes back to life as a fairy. Then in the second book, she gets abducted to another fairyland by another fairyman.
But we like this one.
We do like this one. She falls in love with this other fairyman. Then she learns how to read. She steals some things. Then her sisters don't die, but they get turned into fairies.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm loving this recap. Continue.
Then in the third book, she goes back to the first fairyland to take down the first fairyman, her ex, from the first book. Then she goes back to the second fairyland and the second fairyman. Then she saves all of the fairylands in a fairy world war. And her fairy husband from the second fairy guy, he dies, but he comes back to life also as a fairy because he was already a fairy.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. Beautiful.
yeah,
Thank you for
you're
that.
welcome. It doesn't really help anyone who's never read these books
No,
before.
no, it doesn't. But you know what? It
Everyone
sets a tone.
Everyone is fairies, and everyone's got PTSD from the war. That's what
true.
you need to know.
That-
That's really
is
all.
it.
Yeah.
This is 100% just PTSD. And how do we overcome that after war and
Christmas.
Yeah, with
Yep.
Christmas is
And
the
you
answer.
might, those of you who've read the books might be thinking, wait, didn't we deal with that in the second book? Yes.
Yeah.
Here we go again.
But you have to continue the work, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep on this journey of self-improvement.
Yeah. It's not a one-time fix. Okay. So now we have this oddly timed novella.
It's kind of Christmassy, which is why we're releasing it now.
Yeah.
They never say Christmas because they're,
No, but
godless
it's
heathens.
definitely Christmas.
It's definitely meant to be Christmas.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
call it like midwinter solstice or something.
No, they call it
It's
solstice.
solstice, yeah.
So, okay, it starts with Feyre waking up on a beautiful snowy winter morning. Everything is great. Her family and friends are safe, but her husband is missing. But like he might just be in another province or something, so don't worry. And I don't know, I feel like he should have left a note at the least, but
Yeah.
because you know, Feyre does know how to read now.
She does. But he's just like, nah.
Yeah, he just doesn't respect her.
Yeah. Even though in the last book he was like, listen, if you're going to run off in the middle of a battle, can you at least leave a note?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're in peacetime now, so maybe notes are not needed. But, so she just finished breakfast. There's like a very lengthy description of what her breakfast is. Not stew.
Not yet.
Not yet. That's
no.
true.
Or chicken.
No, it was like continental American.
It was, yeah.
So anyways, she's chatting with the cook about the winter solstice that's happening soon, and she realizes she needs to get everyone gifts because again, it's basically Christmas.
Yes, it is Christmas. So I noticed that she asked the cook lady like really simple questions about this, as if no one else has told her about this major holiday that she has to go to the cook for details.
Yeah.
And it's also in dialogue for all the dialogue
Yeah, it
readers
is.
out there. Like she has to ask, is there a ceremony? And like she's relieved, of course, that there is a ceremony, but no one cares and no one goes to it.
Yeah. She's basically like, do I have to go to Christmas mass? No?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like it exists, but no one goes to that. Like
Yeah.
because we're too cool for that.
Yes, it is clearly a direct parallel to the religious ceremonies that she had to do at the spring court.
Absolutely.
They weren't cool.
No, they were not.
They were not cool at all. So she does know that she has to give gifts to everyone and is like really annoying about it. She's like, I don't have to. I want to. And then like because everyone
God.
nearly died in the war, so they deserve a little something fancy.
Yeah.
Everything about this, she's just like, I wanted to
Yeah.
do it. I'm like, shut up,
I'm
Feyre.
so generous. Yeah. She's also been busy volunteering to rebuild the city. That finally she decides to take time off because a charity matron told her to. Like, how does this land, province, country, like run with her and Reese on vacation?
Oh God, we literally don't know. Also, don't like they're basically in a hoarder house at this point. They have like
Yeah.
tons of shit just like hanging out.
Oh yeah, they do. They talk about.
She finds like a mace just sitting in her bedroom.
Yes.
She's like, we could put this in the in between area that we have, like the magical land where he
Yeah,
puts
that
his
was-
beds and
yeah.
shit. She's like, but we won't. And I'm like, but why not? You have a closet that's bigger than like any closet that ever existed. You could just shove it in there. She's like, no, we couldn't possibly.
No, and like everyone lives with her almost.
Yeah, this is the part where she complains that one of her houses is too small, but the other one is too big.
Yeah, she's like, we can't live in House of Wind because it's so huge. But this little apartment that's like sleeps 5, but
We're just so
exactly 5 people
popular
are in it. I know.
that so many people are in it, and it's so small, but we're too cool to live in our big fancy manor house.
Yeah. Also, like, how does her like? Because Elaine lives with her. They're like, well, they
Okay.
haven't been having a lot of sex. I know they've said it, but like, I would be so
Yeah.
grossed out if I heard any of my siblings even
God.
like
No,
making
thank
out
you.
in the corner. I'd be like,
It's like, please stop it.
yeah.
Also, Nesta
Sorry
has
for
her
the-
own room, but she refuses to go
I know,
live there.
and she lives
Yeah.
in the slums, and they say it all the time.
And they refuse to give anybody else her room.
no, I know, just in case.
Just in case she might
Just
show
in
up.
case.
No, I particularly loved how she's like, I've been volunteering so much, but all the volunteers like kicked her out literally and like tell her to go enjoy her holiday. But it really just sounds like she's terrible at volunteering.
Yeah. Also, I loved a charity matron. I've never heard that
No.
before, but
Maybe it's a fairy thing.
maybe. Anyways, Reese finally responds to the bond because Pharaoh's like, dude, where are you at? And he's like, oh, I'm at the Illyrian camp with Cassian.
So chapter 2 is from Reese's point of view. And before we start, I wanted to say, as I said, I listened to the graphic audio. And the background music for this chapter was orchestral like it was for Pharaoh's chapter, but layered with an electric guitar. Because he's a man and he's badass.
Yeah.
So it was like... yeah.
Also, I have to warn everyone that we have so much to say about this chapter.
We do.
It's like a freaking essay.
I tried to keep my notes light because I knew other people were going to have things to say, but I'm definitely... Yeah, we're going to yap. So, as Tabitha pointed out, this book actually switches POV, and I'm just going to pretend that doesn't exist because that's going to... We have too much to say anyways. we don't have time to talk about that. So anyways, we're with Reese now, and they're at the Illyrian camp. And Reese and Cassian are trying to attempt to convince the Illyrian army to let the females train instead of preparing for Solstice. And it's going terribly. Reese compromises with the Illyrian general and compromises that the women get 90 minutes to train before they continue their chores. What a compromise. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the men can pitch in. Heavy quotes there. I know change doesn't happen overnight, but this whole section just read Reese was mansplaining feminism to a mostly female audience. It was a little ick for me.
Yeah, the whole chapter was very ick. I have a quote. So, quote, and for the females, drudgery. They didn't see it as such. None of them did. But their required tasks, whether young or old, remained the same. Cooking, cleaning, child rearing, clothes making, laundry. There was honor in such tasks, pride and good work to be found in them, but not when every single one of the females here was expected to do it, unquote.
I highlighted the same section because I was like, this is insane. This is so insane. I understand his point. Feminism is about choice, and I'm all about women doing whatever actually makes them happy. That's what true quality is about. But I don't need a fucking man to speak on their behalf.
No one needs that.
No.
Well, he's also not really talking about choice. He's talking about how, no, it's totally cool. There's totally prideful things in taking care of the house and raising children. But again, the kind of core issue with feminism is, did you choose that?
Yeah, right.
Is somebody letting you do other things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what this sounds like.
And also the line of the women didn't see it as such. Bullshit. That's the exact same excuse that we use to make women perform certain types of labor in the home. Guys will say things like, my grandmother never complained about having to do this. And it's I will bet you cash money she did, just not to you because she knew that you suck.
Yeah. Or she was doing it in front of you. Right. Probably. Yeah. She was probably grumbling about something and you chose to just ignore her because, grandma, you're just so fun.
Or what else was she going to do? Women couldn't, oh my God.
On the other...
couldn't do anything,
on the other side of that, how many women are there out there whose grandmothers told them things always make sure you have your own money?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, and you had to keep it in cash because you couldn't have your own bank account.
Yeah.
Right.
God. So Cassian says the women will train 2 hours every morning and then get on with the drudgery. Right. Also, maybe men can help too. And Reese literally knocks it down to 90 minutes and the men will help out when they can. These are this is real.
They compromise.
Right, this is compromising. Mm-hmm. So anyone helps out with the drudgery and everyone trains. But it does sort of sound to me like he's piling more shit on the females' plates. Mm-hmm. And this feels very second wave feminine mystique feminist of them, or feminine coded tasks are considered worthless and must be rejected at all cost in favor of performing masculine coded tasks. Mm-hmm. So then SJM remembers somehow that she's a millennial and is wait, this is honorable work if you choose it, but we all understand it's still drudgery because it's female work, which is gross. And honestly, why is training to fight the only thing they get to do? Can't they learn how to be a blacksmith or tan leather? I refuse the fighting bullshit. If I were an Illyrian woman, I'd be nah, don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I can go train your horses or some shit. Right. I don't want to actually do anything with a stabby knife. That's not my thing. But they're no, you must. And I was oh, well, then is it drudgery then? Because I'm a woman?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Preach.
I think that might also go back to one of the things I complained about in this series, which is where's everybody else who does do all that other shit? Who's a farmer? Who's a blacksmith?
Yeah, we don't get into that.
Worker?
They don't exist.
Yeah. So this is a weird comparison to make, but I recently read a book about Jane Austen, and the author argued that the only reason she was able to write and publish in her position, which is to say unmarried and dangerously middle class, really easy to slip into poverty, was because she performed her household duties in a way that her male relatives who were responsible for her found acceptable. So like she did all of the feminine things she was supposed to, and then she like carved out this little space to be able to do something non-feminine. So it was okay if she wrote on the side.
Yeah. See? Here we are.
But also, like, Jane Austen lived in the real world, and Feyre lives in a fictional world where we don't need to have feminism.
Right.
Like this, set up like
Well,
this.
see,
you know
that's
what
the
I
other
mean?
thing
Or we don't
is-
have to have patriarchy set up like
That's
this.
what I mean.
Say.
Is,
Yeah.
You know, we could have just not had patriarchy in this fantasy world.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
That was something
That
we
would've
could have
been
chosen
fun.
not to have.
but how will the Illyrian and Bat Boys be such alpha males without it?
oh my God. Okay.
Sorry. So back to the book. Rhys is reminiscing about Feyre and how they don't have enough time to bone. But they made time the other day by fucking and flying over the city. And I literally laughed reading this. Like, this doesn't read as romantic to me, but like high schoolers fucking in a bathroom. Also, like, what if Feyre's a squirter? Like, the people below are just enjoying a beer on the patio and then they get misted and assume it's rain. Do Feyre and people care about the people that they... Do Feyre and Rhys care about the people that they rule at all?
Gross.
Why are you calling Feyre out as a squirter? Rhys is the squirter. All people with penises are.
That's true. I just would
Yeah.
have assumed that he would have like come inside her. I don't know. He seems like he's into that.
Maybe not yet. That's something we do later.
That's true. No. It says in this book that he takes a contraception potion.
He
so
does, yeah.
he's definitely
He is
raw dogging her.
He is definitely doing that. Yeah. Plus, I mean, are you going to do that? Like, think of the mechanics of having sex while flying.
You would definitely
How?
get a cramp. Like,
How is that
who's-
even?
yeah.
And then they literally crash land on a roof, and it's just, she's like, "Oh, ha ha." I'm like, "Do you have a broken bone? What's going on?" Like,
Also, again, who lives there? What about these poor people that you rule?
yeah.
Yeah,
they're-
maybe this is the real reason why everyone keeps telling her to go home when she volunteers. Is they're like, ew, she's here again.
Yeah. So luckily,
We just saw her in the sky.
yeah, no, they're cloaked, and no one can
No,
see
I
them.
know,
but
I
you,
know.
but they don't know. Like, this is a world of magic, and
What if
we're
they have
just
like an
assuming.
all-seeing eye? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, back to it. Cassian explains that the Illyrian people are thinking about rebelling. Maybe because they're making the women fight and work.
I mean, I would rebel. Like,
I would too.
like the hell I'm doing this.
No, they're actually pissed because so many of their own died in the war because they were like on the front line, and they think that Rhys put them there as revenge for bullying him and Cassian and Azriel when they were kids.
The level of whining about going to war that these warrior men do is so absurd. I mean, I have thoughts about this that change going through this episode.
Yeah.
But like, war is their whole culture. Lean in.
Yeah, I know. And Azriel says something like this, but in a much ruder way. Like, we can be sad and upset that it had come to war and people died, but I don't know, maybe like this is more of a messaging problem on Rhys's part.
Yeah, I think, yeah. But did anyone catch that there are like several Illyrian tribes that joined with Amarantha,
Yeah.
and like Rhys and Co had to like personally go murder them?
Yeah.
Like no one else would do it because they're like, oh, they're Illyrians, you know, they make mistakes.
Yeah.
But Rhys is like, no, they must die. And I'm like, Illyrians are the worst.
I don't like was that I mean, I'm not into war. I'm a pacifist in general, but did we have to kill them for this? We couldn't like, I don't know, get them to prison and like retrain them.
Oh, no, you should totally kill him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
Swayed that easily.
yeah, no. This is where my thoughts about the Illyrians start to change, because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, of course they hate these people,
Right.
Like, why would they do anything that they ask?
Yeah.
Because like we're gonna get into what Cassian has done and what they all helped
my
him
God,
do, and
yeah,
it's just
we're-
like, well, of course. Now that I
mean-
know this,
I mean, look, if you're a warrior culture and you've allied yourself with these people, yeah, of course you're going to go into war then.
Yeah.
Like, what's the alternative? Choose to not ally with these people and join their enemies, and then they're going to try to kill you. That's how it works.
Yeah. Death either way.
oh
Maybe
yeah,
don't belong to a warrior culture.
yeah, you know, they could have just chosen not to do this. It's-
Sneak away in the night. Apparently, they let anyone into Valaris.
If they can find it, because remember it was a secret.
right. This is true.
Yeah.
Not now.
Yeah, it's open now. So, anyways, Cassian's like, since all this shit is coming up, I'll stay for Solstice because other clans are coming in, and like Cassian's presence will help calm the spread of rebellion somehow. But Rhys is like, no, you have to be home for Christmas.
Yeah, I love that he's like, a fine plan, but over Christmas?
Yeah.
Don't you care about your family?
I was like, I don't know. Your people are about to rebel. Like, there's going to be another war. I think he can give up one Christmas.
No, we can't. Sorry.
I missed a Christmas before. It was fine. I just FaceTimed them. So Cassian's like, yeah, you're right. I should be there for Christmas. So he's there. And then he asks if Cross the River is going to be there. But apparently she's not talking to anyone. And when she is around, she's being a huge bitch. So what else is new?
Nothing.
So he admits Valaris has slums.
Yeah, but like they do it in like the most like, she's in kind of like a downtrodden area.
Yeah.
But like it's still like nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make it sound like she's the one who made it slummy.
Yeah, basically. Like,
Oh
there are approximately 2 bad buildings in Valaris.
Yeah, and she lives in one of them.
Okay, so I have read the Silver Flames part of this, and like, Feyre does say like, Rhys is trying to go around and clean up these slummy buildings. He's really trying. He's almost gotten all of them, and then once he finally gets the like Nesta's shitty building, everything will be perfect.
Yeah. Can I tell you something?
I'm pretty sure we talk about. Sorry, I'm pretty sure we talk about this later, but so what the fuck is Rhys doing? Is he like their landlord now?
Yeah.
Like, this is why you need a council to do these things. What is he doing? Is he going and like throwing money at these buildings? I don't understand. Sorry, what were you gonna say? Anna?
No, I was just gonna tell you about my privilege. I remember growing up, and I had a friend who lived in like one of the apartment complexes in my city, and like just like my mom kind of being weird about it or something. I can't remember if it was just like implied or like if I just felt it or whatever. And so I always was like, oh my God, my one friend lives in like such a bad part of town. And then I like grew up and I was like, what the fuck was wrong with me? Like, she lived in a fine part of town. Her apartment complex was nice. I basically lived in one similar, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, it was because it was apartment complex.
Yeah, I know. I lived in like a development growing up, so.
Okay, so I have another quote, which is
please.
When Rhys and Cassian are talking, and so Cassian then like, quote, a hint of a wicked grin, and Cassian says, I assume our Solstice Day tradition will be on, despite you now being such a grown-up mated male. And then Rhys winks at him and says, I'd hate for you Illyrian babies to miss me, unquote. And this feels very charged sexually.
Yeah, it does.
Like, do straight men act like this in private? And I don't know. Men, please send us your thoughts.
Yeah, we have a few men who listen.
Yeah. Also, why are they constantly calling each other Illyrian baby? That's weird.
Because they're
Yeah.
I actually had the same thought. Like, is group sex a solstice tradition or something? Like, they're just like leering and winking at each other throughout this scene.
It's like, who gives each other wicked grins and winks at each other? We don't do that. As women, we
I don't know
do
if I've
that.
ever
But I
winked
don't
at either of you.
Oh God, no! Why would you do that? It's weird.
I can't wink very well anyways.
If you winked at me, I'd be like, "What's wrong with you?"
I think I would do it, but only sarcastically.
I was gonna say, I think Tabitha's winked at me before, but in like a very sarcastic way. There is a group sex solstice tradition in this fan fiction that I read that I'm going to talk about later.
We'll have to link it later.
Yeah, we will.
Because I read it and now I have thoughts.
Yeah. So all this happens, and Rhys grumbles that not Feyre. Who? Oh yeah, Nesta.
Which sister were we talking about?
So Rhys grumbles that Nesta better be good on Solstice because it is also Feyre's 21st birthday.
She can drink.
Jesus. No wonder why they act like high schoolers, even though Rhys is like technically 500 or whatever. And that's just like a huge age gap, 21 and 500. But before you get grossed out about age gaps, in this conversation, Rhys is like, oh, my dad was 900, but my mom was 18. Like,
Yeah, but
why would you write this in there?
But like, also, Rhys talks about how much his dad sucked.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He was like, my dad was a terrible, like, domestic violence abuser, dipshit. Yeah.
But my child bride, I'll treat her good.
Yeah.
I will break the cycle.
She still can't rent a car, but at least she can drink. I don't know. It just feels like how in Twilight, Edward and Bella's child is born on 9/11. Like, Stephanie Meyer and SJM had so many options here, so many choices that they could make, and then somehow they just chose the worst one.
They have to. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Also, Rhys constantly is thinking about burying himself in Feyre. And he's also constantly in this chapter thinking about how he's taken her on every surface of what is his childhood home.
Other people live there.
I know, which is horrifying.
His childhood home is the one in the Illyrian camp, so like no one actually lives there.
Yeah.
But still,
It's that shack, the one that
Yeah.
he had sex with her on the
The, like,
table in the
hut.
second book.
Oh, yeah, because I mean, Maura and Cassian
yeah.
had to stand outside and wait for them to finish.
Yeah.
Right.
that's true.
Well, apparently they've been doing it some more in there. So, yeah.
I mean, 800 people live in their apartment, so like you know,
So
or
you gotta do it in
townhome-
the sky.
townhome, yeah.
God. Okay.
So now we're in Cassian's POV, and Cassian needs to calm down because he's so upset about all this Illyrian bullshit that's happening. So he flies off to the area where he was born, and his mom was thrown out for bearing a bastard son. He reminisces about his revenge, and it sounds like he had like an Anakin Skywalker moment, like, you know, where he goes to find his mom after she was kidnapped, and then he kills every single creature there, the children too. Sounds like what Cassian did, except he didn't kill the children because, you know, he's a good guy. So I do appreciate how, like, within this memory, he ties like his memory of how his mom was treated so poorly to how he wants to train the Illyrian women to give them their power back. It just feels like a little more grounded than Rhys's like holier than thou take on the situation. I don't know. His part felt a little better to me.
Cassian's take on their brand of feminism to me is given a better story than Rhys's, at least. Like, I can't remember Rhys's issue. Like, he got a bad dad or something. I don't know.
No, he was just mansplaining everything.
Right. So, like, my take on this chapter is it's a big foreshadowing exposition dump for Silver Flames. Like, it's 100% just exposition, him thinking. But, yeah, that's yeah.
The constant use of the word females is wearing on me at this point.
Yes.
I know it's done deliberately because they use men to refer to humans. So they're not men. None of them are men here.
Right.
I feel like this is pretending that all of the readers of this book don't live in a world where misogynists have co-opted the word females.
Yeah.
Like, when they say it, my first thought is like, you're all a bunch of incels.
Yeah.
I know. I really don't like it, and it like jars me.
Yeah. The whole male-female thing is something I really wish had not happened.
Yeah.
Also, after hearing this Anakin moment, I'm no longer surprised that the Illyrians hate these dudes.
Yeah.
Like, it goes beyond, like, we think that because of what we did to you, you're taking revenge. Like, no, they already took revenge. And I feel like they slaughtered a village. We assume they didn't kill kids, but who knows when they start training kids to fight. Like, I
Right.
feel like they definitely took out some teens. And they're surprised, like, they're acting surprised that people are still giving them crap about it.
Yeah. Why are you mad that I killed everyone?
Yeah, it's
God.
just like, you went and
Get
slaughtered
over
an
it.
entire village and they're mad at you. They hate you. Like, just like, let's think about this critically a little bit.
No.
No, can't
no
do
one in
that.
this story has any critical thinking skills. Good points, everyone. So we get a little insight into how Rhys and Feyre rule the Night Court. They host an audience with the public once a week where the public requests things from their lordship, and then Rhys and Feyre personally write an answer back to them. How magnanimous.
Can you imagine what their stationery must look
Oh
like?
my God. It's definitely monogrammed. Are you kidding me?
Everything
At
is
the-
monogrammed
at
in
the
this.
least.
All of the presents, monogrammed.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Oh, and they definitely have like the little mountain and stars because that's their like crest somehow, but it looks like someone just drew it on Canva.
Yeah.
It's definitely the live, laugh, love script.
Oh, Feyre definitely has like 3 live, laugh, love signs in her house.
Yeah, like in the kitchen, it just says eat.
Oh my God. And do you know what else she has? Do you know those TJ Maxx jars that have like flour on it? They're
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
white
Oh, yeah.
in that terrible script. What are they called?
Ray done.
Yes. She definitely had all. That's her house.
Yep.
And in the farmhouse style. Oh my God.
Oh God. Yeah. I remember this is where like she's talking about her desk and like it's just
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
There's so much paper here. And like
She's a businesswoman.
she mentions constantly
Boss
that
babe.
like it's amazing that they do this without secretaries. Meanwhile, I'm like 1000% sure that SJM herself has an entire team of
Oh,
people
yeah,
to
yeah.
keep her and her empire on track. Like I'm pretty sure ruling a country is more important and should be given more consideration than whatever this chaotic frat house system is.
We're clearly supposed to believe that they're just so cool and so casual that they don't need a support staff. This is, I feel like, the same sort of reasoning that people use to vote for political candidates about whom they'll say things like, you could sit down and have a beer with them. That doesn't mean shit when it comes to governing.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I want competency.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what kind of file system do these people have?
Exactly.
Like, do they even know the addresses? Where are they sending these letters to?
he's not-
so many
Yeah.
questions.
How did they deliver that?
Do
Is
you
there
have
a
a
mail
mail service?
system?
Yes.
I it's definitely supposed to try to make them sound like humble and, in quotes, real people, but
if you're ruling an entire kingdom, you need to have at least one
Yeah.
secretary.
I know they make it sound like they're a student council. Like,
Yeah. There's nobody actually doing
okay, guys,
work of governing
we're
here.
picking the prom theme. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this first section also introduces the gallery that's for sale and heavily gets into how Valaris was brutally assaulted in book 2.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It feels like if Disney World had a Scotland area of Epcot. So for all the moaning about blood in the streets, it's really hard for me to buy it like completely. I don't know. It's just like, oh yeah, over there in that gallery, everyone died. And I'm like, okay, I all right. I don't know
There's
if I
like a
believe
very
that.
specific like art section, artist section, which does feel very Epcot-esque.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird. I know there's like art corners in like neighborhoods of cities, but not so, I don't know.
Where
Yeah.
where I lived overseas, the capital city had what we called the Artisana, which was where all the artisans worked out of.
Yeah. There's one of those in Paris, but it's not like, it seems, she was like, every store is like people doing art and selling paintings and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, there's got to be a restaurant somewhere within here.
Well, also, I think it's like the difference between somebody who does art for a hobby because the spirit moves them versus people for whom this is like a real business that their livelihood depends on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all galleries and
Only.
occasionally some selling areas.
Like, this is just a fun thing for Farrah to do.
Yes, so she does walk around the artist quarter to get gifts for her friends. And Moore finds her there and tells her that they are going to
Hewn.
Thank you. I was like, that doesn't sound right. They're going to Hewn City, aka the Court of Nightmares later, to wish them a happy solstice. Oh, and also Eris will be there, which is like the main reason why they're going. And if you don't remember Eris, he's from the Autumn Court. He's the Lucian's older brother.
Yes, and
he
he's
also
evil.
sucks. Yeah, he's evil, but he helped Feyre and friends win the war.
Yeah, so it's complicated.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I think it's the Hewn City. Do you know what hewn means?
No.
Okay, hewn is like to be ripped in half,
Oh, that's
to be
cute.
torn apart.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's called the Hewn City, is
No.
because it's like of the Night Court, but not really.
Yeah. Feyre and I have an equal literacy level.
So the gifts that these people are going to get each other is going to be extremely telling of how shallow their personalities are. So is Amryn getting jewelry that costs as much as a house?
Yeah.
Yes. Also, Moore has given Azriel like 470 daggers, obviously. Like, these people need hobbies.
But also, he doesn't use any of
No,
them.
he just puts them all in a drawer.
They're like, he has a drawer full of daggers. Like, why would you tell her this is the wrong kind?
Also, apparently Moore has a history of giving shitty gifts.
Yeah.
And like no one has told her this in 500 years. Like,
no wonder why she didn't come out.
I know, right?
Yep.
These people are hiding secrets.
Everyone does think that Moore is like a secret villain, though.
Yeah.
I think this is also the part where Feyre gets touchy because in the artist quarter, people recognize her, which she doesn't like. But then immediately she also brags that no one recognizes her because she's so cool.
Yeah.
Or is that one of the other million sections where they're shopping in this
No,
book?
it's
It happens
here.
both times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, I wanted to buy something, but people were looking at me, and I'm like, God, I'll leave. And then she's walking, and she's like, it's so great here. No one notices me. And I'm like, okay, sure, Feyre.
Yeah, maybe the reason they were looking at her at first was they were like, did you see them fucking in the sky a couple days ago?
Yeah, I felt it too.
Yeah. Yeah, my grandma was watering her plants and it just like fell on her.
They ruined her garden.
They fell on my roof. So Rhys comes home to have a snack before leaving for the Court of Nightmares. Him and Feyre talk about her period and like menstrual cycle, and we learn that she has a biannual cycle, twice a year, not every other year.
I actually had to stop the playback of the audiobook and think about this for a while.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why would you do this? Why would you do this?
Yeah.
It just
What? What does this add or take away from the story?
Nothing.
Well, it's so they can also talk about how Reese is the one taking the contraception.
Yeah.
Contraceptive.
This is another
potion.
like point of the feminism cycle. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, we're going to
Role
talk about your
reverse.
period and how like supportive he was during it. Like he held back her hair when she vomited, probably.
Oh, yeah,
And
because
just,
her
like,
cramps were so bad.
brought so many things to her in her time of need because,
Yeah.
you know, it's like a whole week of like cramps and terror and awfulness. And he's so good.
Yeah.
He's the one who takes the
He's a
contraceptive
good guy.
tonic.
He's a good guy.
He's such a feminist.
I just like Favor also mentions that it's hard for Faye to reproduce because, like, of course it would be. And like, assuming that this follows human biology, but like just at a much slower pace, you have like.
All right. Sorry, everyone. The audio probably sounds much different right now because we had a system error pop up and cut us off in the middle of our last recording. So for us now, this is a week later in a different location. But we're going to pick up where we left off.
3 different locations.
Yeah.
Technically 3 different locations. Okay, but we know where we were. So here we go.
All right, so Reese comes home to have a snack before leaving for the Court of Nightmares. Him and Feyre talk about her period, and we learn that she now has a biannual, meaning twice a year, cycle. So just 2 periods a year. That's it.
What's the point of that? Why add this detail? Why make this part of your lore?
Well, they have to say that, like, you know, having a baby is hard so that when it happens later, which we all know is going to happen, it's like this beautiful miracle because that's what babies are, Tabitha. So, yeah, I mean, I have lots of questions as to how this works because, like, if you only have 2 periods a year, doesn't that kind of mean, like, all your kids are... I don't know. Is it like 2 periods depending on when you had your first period, or is it like sheep where like everyone gets pregnant in the spring or whenever they get pregnant, and then you'll have babies in the spring, which is why little chicks and sheep are like a part of Easter.
You think there'd be a strain on the medical system?
That's what I'm thinking. Exactly. I think this all the time when I read a Megaverse. Like, okay, are you all having heats at the same time? Like, anyways, we could go deep into this.
I mean, yeah, going on what happens in Silver Flames, I would imagine the medical system is already pretty strained.
Oh, shit. Okay. I just started reading it. I'm like in chapter 5, maybe. Nothing.
Okay, you're starting.
3 or so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you'll find out soon.
Oh, God. Okay. Excited. Okay. So moving on. Reese has his snack. We talk about periods. Also, apparently Reese is the one who's been taking a contraceptive potion, which is a nice little role reversal. Feyre also mentions, as I said, that it's hard for Faye to reproduce because, like, of course it would be, again, babies are beautiful miracles. So you only have, like, what, a couple of days a year to get it right because you have to think about, like, normal ovulation. Anyways. We also learn that Lucien is still lurking around Elaine, and Reese hates him. And, Reese also hates Nesta because she was mean to Feyre.
I mean, I agree with him. I hate them both too, for that particular reason. They were both assholes. But also, I have to point out here that they almost have sex and are interrupted by Maura. And then we get another one of his, like, I wanted him to bury himself in me. And that is bury in her number 3 for those of us counting. I started counting I wanted to bury myself. I was like...
Just dig down like a little groundhog.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like it's being used a lot. And then Reese goes and takes a bath and says, quote, I need to primp, unquote.
I know the term, like, metrosexual isn't, like, PC anymore, but that's how I feel about this man.
I mean, I would prefer that men groom themselves.
Yeah,
yes,
true.
They definitely do.
Yeah,
I'm just like, is this a joke? Like, it was really hard to tell sometimes with him.
Mm-hmm. And everyone should wash their legs and their ass and their feet.
Definitely.
Because
wash everything.
Yes. Get a washcloth. Anyways.
I did also recently hear somebody's commentary that it is anti-feminist to dislike Nesta. Apparently, women are not allowed to simply be assholes.
Yeah. We contain multitudes, right?
We do, yeah. We're not all Feyres and Elaines out there. Okay, so he does his little primping, and he does that because they're going to the Court of Nightmares. Now they are in the Court of Nightmares. They greet Kier, who's Maura's dad, and then also Eris from the autumn court, and also Moore's ex-fiance is there. And then Moore like remembers all the fucked up shit that happened to her and why she refused to marry him. She also remembers waking up in pain in the autumn court with these 3 like iron nails hammered into her body. This is what happened to her back then. And Eris like doesn't let anyone help her and says that she can die for her sins because she's kind of like fairy Jesus. And then on the 3rd day, she rose again.
She did. Yeah.
God, I'm getting excommunicated. Anyways, Eris makes a comment about his dad and Tamlin trying to possibly expand their borders into the human realm, and Feyre and Rhys are unhappy about it.
Why did Maura even go with them to the Court of Nightmares? I mean, it like super stresses her out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Why'd she go? Did they make her go? Why would they make her go?
She didn't even speak when she was there. She just showed up, and this was just like all like inner monologuing that she was doing. This is the entire section. She's just her thinking.
She's like just disassociating and just remembering this trauma. But Rhys is like, hey, good job being in charge of this little area down here. I know you have a really fucked up relationship with your dad, but you're the only one who can do it. Good job, sweetie. So Rhys thanks Azriel for telling him about Eris visiting the Court of Nightmares. That's like why they went down there, because he needed to learn about this border expansion. They then discuss the growing discontent in the Illyrian camps, and Azriel calls them all losers and hypocrites. He says, I quote, "They train and train as warriors, and yet when they don't come home, their families make us into villains for sending them to war." Like, yikes, my guy. Just, I don't know, have like an ounce of empathy.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
So my new working theory is that the Illyrians aren't mad about being sent to war. They're mad that they were sent into war by Rhys, whom they hate because he's massacred so many of them and think being placed on the front lines by him was another act of revenge. And I think they do mention that in the book, but I don't think they're really like focusing on that. Like they don't allow themselves to think like these people can have multiple thoughts in their head. Number one, we did kill a lot of them for seemingly no reason. Number two, and yeah, maybe it was revenge because they're such good fighters, right? But they suck.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know.
Tabitha, thoughts?
I think Sarah's dumber than this. I think that she wanted to make a cool warrior race like the Spartans or the Vikings. So, sort of. It's not really correct to call them a warrior race, but whatever.
Yeah.
But also wanted to be dramatic about the horrors of war. So she tries to do both in the same story, and it's kind of contradictory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. Also, because we're talking about the horrors and everything that's happened post-war, the human queens haven't returned to their human lands. And I don't remember where they originally went. Was it the continent?
So they've always been in the continent. They've never left there. But they're staying in their weird joint palace, which for some reason is a problem. Yeah. I didn't know this was a problem. And apparently like Tabitha was right. They do have territories elsewhere that they all like individually reign in their own individual palaces, but then they come together this little joint area like the Hague or something. And like, this is an issue. We don't like it that they're doing this. Yeah. But I didn't know it was a problem, honestly.
It seems weird that they're still, well, I don't know.
Yeah, they won't leave. They're just in their little sorority house. And like Rhys is like, you really need to like not be there anymore. And they're like, fuck you. You can't tell us what to do. He's like, yeah, I can. And there's like some sort of weird power dynamic going on there.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to ally with Hybern. Technically, they've lost the war. Get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Right. True.
But they were there to begin with. It's so weird.
I don't know. To be honest, the addition of them in this story in general is just confusing to me. I don't remember enough about them to like know anything about them. Obviously, I didn't even remember where they went. So, but we have more to talk about in this, unfortunately, or fortunately. So, Azriel and Rhys, they all discuss how to deal with the queens and all this other shit going on. And Azriel suggests that Lucian should go, but Rhys says no, he'll do it because he needs to visit Tamlin for the holiday. Oh, also, there's like a one-off line about Bryaxis not being back in his library, but like I thought they gave him a window, so why would he not want to go back? I don't know. Almost all of this info feels like very irrelevant to this book, but it's here, so I'm telling you about it.
Maybe her next book will be Bryaxis's romance.
God, if only. Imagine what this dark
the monster
cloud will find.
Fucking something, yeah.
So, fun fact about this chapter: Rhys winks at Azriel. And I don't think Sarah understands how winking works. It's like it's like this isn't making what you have to say to Asriel like less of a problem, or like I don't know. It just makes everything strange.
Yeah.
And at one point, Reese states that Az just really gets him more than others, except for Feyre. And then he says, quote, Asriel knew a thing or two about old scores to settle and balances to be righted. So did most of my inner circle, I suppose, unquote. And what does it even mean? Like, Az gets me. He understands revenge, just like everyone else I know, probably. It's like damned with faint praise. And then another quote that I have to point out is, quote, I'd planned to hunt Bryaxis down for months now to take Feyre and let her track down the entity that, for lack of better explanation, seemed to be fear itself, unquote, which is just like SJM distilled, like kind of feminist, but not really.
Yeah.
And what is Bryaxis? We don't know.
Just fear.
I don't think
just
she
the
knows.
idea of fear. Yeah. Just, a thought.
It's just like, just hand wave it away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so not Bryaxis, but a storm is coming. So Cassian's now back in the Illyrian camp, I forget what it's called, and he buys winter clothes for the less fortunate Illyrians. Nice guy.
Yeah, so this is done because it's in the owner of the shop is Emery, and she is a big character in Silver Flames. So he's buying these things from Emery's shop, and I think this chapter only exists to foreshadow like that she's going to be a big deal in the next book. And that's really it.
Yeah, now that you pointed that out, this kind of reminds me of the prequel for Throne of Glass, because it's basically like a bunch of different stories put together, and they're all introducing characters who are going to like either they've been introduced briefly in the previous books, or like the one like bad guy you get to learn a little bit more about, but the other people are just introduced for later on in the series. But they're all like little short stories, and they're all contained. They like make more sense. And then this is just like hey, here's a random character. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, well, we'll never see her again in this book. Like, should I remember her? No idea.
Yeah, like
I don't.
Cassian's like, it's going to be so amazing when Nesta ever meets her. And I'm like, oh, do you think she's ever going to meet her? Maybe that's going to happen soon.
Right. The most obvious foreshadowing ever.
But okay, a couple of fun facts for this. The Illyrians are cooking stew.
Hell yeah, they are. It's a stew-based culture.
It is. And second fun fact is the concept of shops in this little town, I think it's Windhaven it's called, only started 50 years ago. Can you imagine that?
Which is the dumbest shit. Like, ancient Sumeria had shops. It's how it works when you need to buy shit from a professional.
Okay, in Silver Flames, they say something about like the less fortunate Illyrians too, and I want to be like, does this like war culture like town even have money? Like, what does that even mean, being less fortunate? Are you just like trading goats? Like, so it's just like who has the weakest, runtiest goat of them all?
Well. Who were the people who complained about Taste of Golden Iron getting too into the weeds with the details, and now we're like, where's their mint?
No, okay, listen.
Also, okay, one thing that I have to say about Silver Flames is apparently they also don't have salt.
What? How do they eat stew?
They don't have salt.
Salt is natural in nature.
So
every culture had salt.
They don't use spices. They must be just so sad.
Just the whitest fucking people.
Yeah, she's like, first off, Hybern's obviously Ireland, so like, there's all that we talked about last episode. Now she's saying that the Illyrians who live like up in Scotland, we basically know the map is the UK, that they don't use spices. So again, like,
none
racist
of them
against the British now.
Also, you like need salt. Well, maybe not fairies. I was gonna say humans need salt to live.
They do need it. It's a necessary thing that you
do
must
they not
have
have like cured meats in this culture? Like, everything has to be fresh. Jesus Christ, we're getting way too into this now. Okay, I just heated. Feyre returns to paint with a friend she made while shopping like way long ago. I didn't write her name down because I didn't care. And she's in the artist quarter. But she's like, maybe I'll go to my friend's house. No, instead I'm going to go to this boarded up shop and paint something there first.
Maybe I'm just a joy-hating asshole, but I have never believed for 1 second that Feyre is actually a decent artist.
No, it's never been something that I've completely believed.
As I've discovered later on in this, I don't think Sarah J. Maas understands how art works or how it's created. Yeah. So I think it's actually her fault. Anyways, Feyre spends this time in this like dilapidated studio to paint herself as she saw it in the Ouroboros mirror from the last book, the monster that was inside of her.
Okay, so quote, this is what it looks like, quote, that beast of scale and claw and darkness, and then there's a semicolon, rage and joy and cold, all of me, what lurked beneath my skin, unquote. And they're like, what do you think this looked like?
Oh, I'm sure
Nothing.
it's just
It
some
looks like nothing.
Dorian Gray shit.
Like part bird,
Yeah, like, ew,
Yeah,
she looks
part bird.
gross.
but probably
Yeah,
really
like
sexy, like a sexy sort of gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a griffin or something, maybe. I don't know. Rhys is now at the spring court because remember he's visiting Tamlin for the holidays, and he tells Tamlin to get his shit together, and also he needs to protect his borders from the humans. I don't know. In my opinion, his reasoning for like the need for this is a little weak. Isn't the war over? And like you should be wanting to like coexist with the humans peacefully. I mean, I know we need borders or whatever bullshit people in the government say, but I don't know. Open them up.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this was kind of half-baked. Like, there's really no evidence that Fae are fucking around with the humans in the Mortal Lands under
Right.
Prithian, and especially given that they're allies now, and Jurian is, like, handling things down there, and he's not said anything's problematic, so it kind of feels like he's just, like, coming up with shit to do.
Tamlin is like, sure, I'll do it. But like my army and people left me because of you and your fucking wife. So what do you want me to do? And then Rhys obviously doesn't like that at all and basically tells Tammy that he's a loser and no one likes him and he did this to himself. And like, how do we feel about Rhys and Tamlin here?
I don't know. I think Rhys wanted to swing his dick around and sincerely doesn't understand how to heal past wounds and bring about peace without a major helping of vengeance. This man is constantly talking about the vengeance that like has to be had before everyone will feel better. And I'm like, that's not how this works. I don't think you understand how any of this works. That's why the Illyrians hate you. Like, and for like good reason. So Tamlin, though, is forever a huge question mark to me. He's kind of like his motivations are all over the place, and he's basically a caricature of a impotent villain, in my opinion. So it's hard to get a read on it.
Yeah.
I got irrationally irritated during this chapter. You show up at the house of a dude whose fiance left him for you and whose kingdom you ruined after he also got PTSD alongside your wife. And you immediately rise to his snarking and tell him that he sucks and has no friends or girlfriend, and he probably smells too. Like, what was the point of this, Rhys-Ann? Do you have any diplomatic savvy at all? Also, it really bothered me that, like, all of his people in his kingdom left him, because that's just not, like, I understand this is fairies, but that's just not realistic.
Right.
Like, every person who's ever had a tiny bit of power, and he does still have his magic, every person with a tiny bit of power always has hangers on. Not every single person would leave.
Yeah, there's always someone who's like, I gotta be near the guy with the power because that means I'll have a little scrap of power and then I can lord it over the rest of them.
Or like there's plenty of crazies who are probably like, Tamlin did nothing wrong. He's a strong monster man, you know.
Absolutely.
As we see in the media. Yeah. So I agree with both of you. I think Rhys was a huge fat douche here. And like he knew when he went there that Tamlin was going to be a big old bitch. That's all he's ever been. Like, what did he expect to happen? Anyways, so yeah, Rhys then leaves and he meets up with Feyre and goes shopping.
More shopping. So
there's a lot of shopping in this
I know,
book.
there's so much, like so much jewelry we must shop for. He also tells Feyre right now that he should have been the bigger male in this meeting with Tamlin. So I guess this was supposed to be us seeing Rhys let his emotions get the better of him, but I don't know. Everything was so muddled, and I think he did just rise to the occasion so quickly and take that bait. Like
Again, this wasn't like a personal visit. This wasn't like, oh, he felt bad that Tamlin was alone and invited him out of pity to spend the holiday together and then was hurt by Tamlin's rejection. This was a meeting about the safety of their shared territories. And it's just fucking embarrassing behavior.
it is, yeah.
Be professional.
And like if this was us seeing Rhys get like overtaken by his emotions, he does that all the fucking time. He's always like like hulking out left and right or like being a dick. I don't know.
Okay, so a few more fun facts about this chapter. I don't know, I'm full of fun facts in this episode. Amren gets more jewelry.
Maura, every detail that I leave out because I think it's stupid, Mara's like, no,
like,
no, I will make sure that we
I
talk
have
about
to put
it.
more of these things in because they're just so dumb. Okay, so Amryn gets more
Yeah.
jewelry, obviously. She's just like bedecked in jewelry. And Reese winks some more. So I have like a running tally of winks. I will put those in at the end. Don't worry.
I don't know. Maybe he's just stroking out.
And I have to take another break to talk about her syntax. I can't take it anymore
Please.
because she does this constantly. So, quote, a tomb. This place was a tomb, unquote. And then this one is, quote, too easy. It was far too easy, unquote. And then low. It was a low blow. It's like that last one's my favorite because it's like a random word. And like, okay, now I'll give you an actual sentence to explain why I'm just shouting a random word at you. And like, this is art, you guys. I'm sorry, I can't. It's like, oh my God.
I really think that Sarah must have been thinking something like, I'm going to write a novella of just character development, but she sucks and she can't.
Okay, I listened to our ACOTAR Part 2 episode, and in it I go on a bit of a rant about how in the Marvel universe, when the first Avengers movie came out, they were like living in Tony Stark's little building, and there were all these like really cute fanfics about them all living together and like being a gang and like a cute found family and all this stuff. And like, this is what I wanted this stupid novella to be, and instead it's like, here's like the littlest bit of plot, just kidding, it goes nowhere. Here's like a little bit of character development, just kidding, it goes nowhere, because we can't actually do anything, because everything that's going to happen is going to happen in Silver Flames.
Yeah, this is a very, 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 very small glimpse into post-war life for these people, and because it's Christmas, it's just shopping and walking around in the snow.
But like, make it 100 pages.
If anything, it should just be fluffy, but it's not. It's she like tries to deal with everybody's trauma, so it ends up being this like mixed bag of like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, I think she was trying to like ride the line of like fluff and character development, and she just really didn't know where to go with either of them.
No.
So Feyre and Elaine prepare for dinner and chat about life. Then the group has dinner, but Nessa doesn't come. It is chicken, of course.
Unsalted,
just
apparently.
No, they have some little they have at least some herbs because they say it's sage and lemon.
okay.
And then they also
That's not
have
salt, though.
rosemary. That's true. They also have rosemary roasted potatoes, which again, no salt involved.
Ew, without salt? Ew.
And obviously roasted carrots, which I think had honey on them. So she's got meat, a
Yeah,
veggie,
fine,
and
that
a
makes
starch,
sense.
which at least it's a balanced white person meal, but like
Dude, what if she came out? Oh my God, what if she came out with an ACOTAR cookbook? You know how she has the coloring book?
oh my God, do you know how much money that would make?
Oh my God.
Do you know how much
Yeah,
money
and
that
it's
would
sodium
make?
free. Yeah, it's healthy.
Okay, also Ass has to like tidy the decor that Cassian and Feyre drunkenly tossed
yeah.
everywhere. And like, these people are lushes in this book. It's like they are drunk
I
constantly.
left out. Yeah, they got wasted in this chapter. Like, they were just like I think it's described that each of them have like at least a bottle of wine, and like I'm a lightweight, but like a bottle of wine would put me
It
out.
would. It easily, very quickly. There's nothing to these people.
No.
Yeah, this is a lovely scene of two women chatting in a kitchen while preparing the food. Where are the men at? Laughing, drinking, not preparing the food. How wonderful to move from one patriarchal society to another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because like, has Reese ever made dinner in his life is a question that I have. Also, there's
sure
this
not.
clear Azrael is so weird tone when he fusses over the decor because he's manly and therefore shouldn't care about this.
Yeah. Yeah, I also forgot that they were drunk when I was reading this, and when Azrael comes in and like fixes it, I was like, it's really kind of strange that Feyre's supposed to be good at art, but she's terrible at decorating. But I guess one does not equal
She
the
just
other.
doesn't have the eye for it.
She also was
Yeah,
wasted,
she's
so
very
that makes
wasted.
sense. So during dinner, Amryn discusses how hard it is to be human. You know, we have to pee and poop all the time.
It does suck.
So yeah, it does suck. So there's an interesting little tidbit about her choosing to be female because when she was a monster, apparently she wasn't either. But that's all we get on there. And then Amryn is rude to Elaine, and everyone protects her like she's an abused dog that can't handle loud noises. Like, how is she not the youngest sister, you know?
Yeah.
Feyre is somehow the youngest.
Yeah, she's the oldest somehow, and I have a really hard time remembering that.
I thought Nesta was the oldest.
No, Elaine is the oldest.
Oh, just
Nesta's
kidding.
the middle sister.
That makes sense, though. Yeah.
But there's this like nice Asriel Elaine tension, and Elaine goes to change out her apron, and he like literally orders Cassian to wait to eat until she can show back up. And Reese is like, yeah, that's just his past trauma because he saw how his mom was jaded. But I'm like, I think he just likes Elaine.
This is sometimes I feel like when I'm on TikTok and they're like, do you ever blink? That's a trauma response. That's how I feel reading this book.
Everything is a
sometime.
trauma response.
Reese is like a TikTok like mental health guy. It's a trauma response.
Everything is.
Anyways, Feyre is like pissed that Nesta didn't come to dinner. So she goes to find her and she's in this like seedy bar. And Nesta is drinking and playing cards. And she doesn't want to talk to Feyre at all. But Feyre really wants her to come to Solstice and says that she'll continue to pay Nesta's rent if she comes.
Okay, here I am with my fun fact. You apparently say gentle males instead of gentlemen in this world.
Lame.
Yeah. I also have a bonus fun fact, which is that humans have no holidays.
Unrealistic.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, third fun fact. Nesta drinks at what's called the Wolf's Den, which is what Romans called brothels. Like, it's literally called lupanar, which means wolf den. So let's play another game of, did SJM do that intentionally, or did she do something accidental but interesting?
I think her thought process was probably wolves are badass.
Yeah, like the reason I wonder this is because Crescent City is supposed to be inspired by ancient Rome, and also Tarquin is short for Tarquinius, which was the last king of Rome. So I think Sarah's well acquainted with Wikipedia and might have a Rome thing. But also Nesta was completely
major?
insufferable here, so I'm glad this chapter's over.
Yeah, she's a huge bitch. Yeah, Reese and Moore take a little walk. He tells her that Kier and the Court of Nightmares will be getting their side of the bargain soon, which means they will visit Valaris, in the spring. Reese then asks Moore if she would help with treaty talks in the other lands, and she's like, I'll think about it.
Yeah, I guess they're also walking around in the snow because SJM is like obsessed with talking about how wings get cold in winter, and I think she mentions it every single time they're outside.
Yeah. Other people that are out in the snow are Feyre and Elaine. They go shopping.
Of course.
Feyre buys a tap. Well, it's Christmas. You got to shop
you
a lot
must
for
keep
Christmas.
shopping. You want to do it.
Got to
you
get
don't
that
have
consumerism in there somewhere. So, Feyre buys a tapestry inspired by the Weaver's grief. Not the Weaver as in like the person from the last books, but the actual human who weaved it. And it was created by this person's grief over her husband that died in the war. Feyre freaks out that her and Reese haven't created anything together, in quotes.
Yeah, so the theme of the novel is delivered really clunkily here. Like, it's basically how do you create after trauma with these big speeches to random customers, apparently.
So then after she's like, oh my God, Reese and I haven't created anything, she then paints in the abandoned studio. But like in the text, SJM says she only does it for like 3 hours and she creates like multiple paintings. Like, that's not a long time to paint.
I mean, I guess if she's doing impressionist style painting.
No, that's still not a long time to paint. I only do watercolors, which is not like it's not like oils where you're like laying on like color and then you like wait for it to dry and lay on color. Like watercolor can be pretty fast. But even still, I paint for like multiple hours for one painting. So like to get out a lot of paintings in 3 hours is like insane. Also, the way she describes it makes the paintings seem like they're ginormous. Like at least like a couple feet by a couple feet, not like little hand held portraits, that sort of shit. So
We really get no indication as to like what the style of art is at all. Like you said, is she doing something impressionistic or more abstract? Is she is it like all just feelings, or is she actually trying to depict something?
I keep thinking that it's like in the back of SJM's mind, she's like doing some sort of female version of Rembrandt. That's what I keep thinking.
Which like still hours, days people spend time on painting. Like, and I think that's why everyone assumes that Feyre's a terrible painter. Number one, because she painted like furniture, which is like the lowest form of painting. Sorry.
And always remember the eyes on the walls.
Yeah. But like also, I don't think SJM like did any research into what paintings, like she describes other things like the snow 300 times, but not like an actual action. I don't know. Anyways, so she finishes this painting, multiple paintings, I'm sorry, lickety split. And then she visits Amryn, who's doing a puzzle. Okay. Because, human life is boring now. And Amryn and her discuss Nesta, and Amryn basically tells Feyre to mind her own business.
So they start the conversation by discussing how it smells like sex in this little loft thing that she's in. And I'm like, this is gross. Who does this? Who walks into a room and it's like, ew, it smells like sex, and then like give her like a look like, oh my God, you're such a Lexi's little slut. Who does this?
People do that in books all the time. I was just reading a book where, in Quicksilver, they do that. They like walk in somewhere and they're like, ugh, I can smell sex on you. I know you guys just fucked. And I was like, ew, like, does no one have any decorum?
No,
I don't know. No. So now it's Solstice Eve. The crew hangs out, and I'm not sure if it's possible, but SGM just like culturally appropriates Christmas, which I know stole its traditions from paganism.
I think this might have been the part of the book where they said something along the lines of Solstice was almost taken away from them because of, war and shit. But their culture indoors. And I had this moment of like, wait, is this some sort of Christmas is too woke, put Christ back in Christmas bullshit? Like we have to celebrate the holiday because it's our culture and we need to keep it pure. I checked, but I really don't have any desire to reread any part of this book.
I think that part comes a little bit earlier when she's talking about like how lucky she is that everything is like back to normal or whatever. But at this point, like this is where Varian is there, and apparently Cassian's like drilling him on like, what does the summer court do for Solstice? And like Varian's just like, well, we don't celebrate this one, we celebrate the other one, the one in summer. Because there are two solstices. And Cassian's like, huh? Because, only one solstice matters, and it's this one.
Which makes no goddamn sense for a culture. Because, like, the point of celebrating a solstice is it's like the longest day and the shortest day. So why wouldn't they also, being in a place that is more far north and gets less sunlight, not also celebrate the longest day of the year that they have? It's just fucking stupid.
Yeah. I mean, you would celebrate both, right? Like, longest night, longest day. It's a reason to celebrate. It's a turning of the season, but no.
Yeah. Most people celebrate, I mean, if we're going off of like religions or whatever, most people in Christianity celebrate Christmas and Easter. I mean, Easter's usually like a smaller holiday, but it's still celebrated. They're not like, huh? What's Easter?
What do you mean?
Never heard of that before. Yeah. The guy who was born back then died? Crazy. So yeah, it's finally Solstice now. And also it's Feyre's birthday. Remember, she's 21. Just absolutely insane. Rhys gives her a scarf and a sketchbook for her birthday. And so they bone, and then she draws him like one of her French girls.
This is so like suburban white girl vibes. Like she keeps tooling around in a chunky sweater and tights, and then she gets a scarf from her husband and she thinks it's the best scarf ever.
No, you're totally right. Getting a scarf is peak suburban white girl. And at one point, like they monogram literally everything that they get in this book. And I'm like, that is also peak suburban white girl.
He then gets hauled away by Cassian and Azriel to who knows where. Oh, and also Lucian comes back for Solstice. And Elaine is not happy about it. Feyre is still, for some reason, trying to force Lucian and her sister together when neither of them seem to want it. I don't know why. Like, he's enjoying his time in the human lands with his little found family there. He doesn't want to be forced to become a part of Feyre and Rhys's court where they, like, have, like, fucked up his life and all this shit by playing mind games with Tamlin. And he's like, I don't want a part of this, okay? And Maura's gonna hate me for this, but like, good for you, Lucian. Like, you have your little found family of misfits. Don't be bullied back into the bad kids club.
Yeah, Feyre is really mean to him when he says he's happy with other people, and then says he's always welcome with them. Really?
Yeah, Feyre seems mostly shocked that he'd choose to make friends with someone else. It's very teen clique of her to be like, how dare you snub my popular table so you can go sit with the band geeks? You're going to regret this. And like, look, we all know I hate Lucian, but even I'm happy he puts his foot down with Feyre. Like, I'm glad he recognizes Elaine isn't into it and that he's actually finding his own little place and his own little found family. This is actual character development for him, and like, good for you, Lucian. But that said, the Band of Exiles is a dumb name.
Yeah, it's really dumb.
Yeah, it is.
We call ourselves the Band of Exiles. I'm
Man,
like,
calling
okay, sure.
yourself anything as a group is a rough gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the Court of Dreams, I'm like, no, don't do that.
Not to really call myself out here, but my friends from college, all the like guys were like high school friends, and then like the girl half, whatever, came on from them. That didn't make any sense, but it does in my brain. So anyways, they all call themselves the Butthole Boys.
Oh, God.
That's like what they call themselves. And so me and my friends use the word raw dog a lot just because it's a beautiful term. And so as a joke to make fun of them, we call ourselves the Raw Dog Girls. So it's now become
My
like
God, Emma.
an unironic.
I mean, our name for our group chat is
true.
Watery Bowels. So
Yes, but
forgot
we
about
don't
that.
like call ourselves that
Can you
like,
imagine?
in public.
Hey, we're the
That's an
Watery
inside
Bowels. Nice
thing.
to meet you.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, Moore takes Feyre to where the Bat Boys are because she's very confused about what's going on and thinks they're like doing something weird. But they're just having a snowball fight because, you know, boys be boys.
why didn't he tell Feyre about this tradition? He just left for several hours during a holiday. Like, I guess it's a good thing he didn't need to fucking cook any food.
Yeah, no kidding. Just walked out like, I gotta go do my sport.
Yep.
Yeah. Like they can even talk to each other telepathically. He could have told her through his mind that he was
No.
leaving.
No. And then, once the fight's over, the boys end it by going to the sauna on the side of the cabin. And I talked about this last episode too, but I reread that fan fiction where the sauna turns into a foursome between the Bat Boys and Feyre. And Moore leaves. She like literally is like, I'm out of here. I don't need to be a part of this at all. So uninvited.
Yeah, they said sauna, and I immediately thought, this is the traditional holiday orgy.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
where my brain too. But oh God. Okay, so this is where he does do the whole like, I'm gonna talk in your mind, Feyre, and they're having like a mental conversation. So he tells her, quote, "There's room for one more in here," and she says, "I thought mates were territorial," and then he says, "I'm always eager to learn what sparks your interest, Feyre, darling." And I'm like, okay, so he's down with sharing her with people he considers his
I know.
brothers. And then at the same time, this feels very incestuous.
know.
And like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have so many questions.
And like this is
Like, who thinks this is like a normal thing
yeah,
to do?
no one. And then this is how the foursome starts. He's like, I'm eager to learn whatever sparks your interest. And she's like, okay. And then she gets butt ass naked, runs outside, and then invites herself in. And then sits on his lap. And then the others are looking across the sauna. And then they join in. And I just like, why would you fuck in a sauna? Like, wouldn't you get heat stroke? I don't know. They do move inside at one point and make use of the bath and the bed. And I just like the stamina of these guys is quite impressive. I'll give them those props.
You know, they're
Yeah,
always
no kidding.
They're always bragging about how they have like no servants and they do everything themselves. Who do you think
Yeah.
cleans that sauna?
No one.
I don't want to think
Yeah.
about it, honestly.
Buildup of years of semen.
Yeah. Ugh, fuck, gross. Yeah. You're probably right, though. Yeah.
But okay, I did read this too because Emma was like, read it. And I'm like, yeah, all right. So I read it. And like, despite the sauna orgy not being my thing in the slightest and the
Yeah.
whole incestuous vibes, like the author writes sex better than Sarah, I have
Yeah.
to say.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not going to read this.
No, you shouldn't.
Later, after the non-orgy that doesn't happen in this book, they actually celebrate Solstice and also Feyre's 21st birthday. She blows out the candles. She makes a wish. It's so unbelievably obvious, even though it's supposed to be like hinted as to what it is. Nesta shows up for Solstice presents. Amazing timing. Just to show up for the part when you get a gift. I'm not going to describe everyone's presents because none of them are that important at all. They're all pretty boring. They seem to be opening all the presents simultaneously, and I have to ask, how does your family open gifts at Christmas if you celebrate Christmas?
We do it simultaneously.
Yeah, same.
I do not. And I am now realizing that this is maybe weird. We open gifts one at a time, and it goes in order of either youngest person to oldest person or oldest person to youngest person. So it'll either start with my sister and then go up to my dad and then restart, or my dad down all the way to my sister and then restart. And also we each give everyone a gift. So there's 6 of us. So that's like 5 gifts to go through because you get one from each person. And then we get a gift from our parents. So like 6. And then we get 3 gifts from Santa because Jesus got 3 gifts.
Aw.
So that's like 9 rounds that you have to sit through. Like it takes all morning.
That's crazy. Like, yeah, we're done in like an hour because it's just like ripping. Everything's done before you know it. Like, I have 2 kids. My sister has 2 kids. We tend to do it all together. And before you know it, like, you have to be fast. Or these kids get bored and you're like, everybody
we're super slow. And I fold my wrapping paper when I'm done with it. I don't like rip them open.
Oh my God. You're so cute.
Thanks.
I'm an only child, so I think it just
true.
wasn't worth the effort to do anything like that. And also my parents are very non-traditional people. So the idea of having to like sit and watch somebody else open a present and then take your turn, it's ritualized in a way that I could not see my family indulging in.
Yeah. No, we love it. We live for it.
One of the reasons I don't like baby showers or wedding showers, it's the performative femininity, but also that part where when they decide to open the presents in front of everybody one at a time and talk about them, it's like having my fingernails ripped off. Like I get this feeling of, I don't know if it's like secondhand embarrassment, but like secondhand stress for them.
Yes. It's the stress of it and like having to like watch their faces and like the excitement or lack thereof. Oh, a bassinet.
Well, and to watch them have to like perform essentially, like they're the guest of honor, they're the person that the party's for, and they have to perform for us. I was once at a baby shower where the mom to be got 3 different rocking chairs.
That's too many.
Wow, how could that even happen?
I have a secondary Christmas question. Do you do a list? Do you like give people lists of what you want, or do people just know based on your personality what you want? Like,
I mean, I'm an adult, so the only people who buy me gifts are really my parents.
Yeah,
so I just tell them.
Oh, Maura.
So last Christmas, I basically put my foot down and said, I'm not giving you people gifts. You're not giving me any gifts because I cannot handle this emotionally. I'm done. And
they don't give you any gifts?
No, because I refused to give them a gift. I was like, I can't do this. I have kids. I have we can give presents to the children.
I thought your kids don't do gifts, and I was like, do they give you?
No. Like I was like, we're gonna focus on giving gifts to the 7-year-old and the 4-year-old. I am a 40-some-odd-year-old woman. I don't need that in my life right now. It's a really bad year, honestly. So I guess this year I have to do it. So I don't know. It's a weird, complicated thing.
I swear my family's mostly normal suburban, okay? But maybe they're not. So we do an Excel sheet.
Wow.
And every person has a tab of the Excel sheet. And you can like link what you want and like put a price point.
So amazing.
I will say that's like the weirdest thing that happens.
It's like what other people do is just it's just so amazing to me. I'm just
That's true.
I did hate when Elena opened Lucian's present, which was indestructible gardening gloves, and Feyre says something about Elaine wanting to feel the dirts and the cuts on her hands, and like fucking ingrate. Like, as someone who has gardened professionally for several years, I would argue, and did it as a hobby for a long time, you can garden without gloves. That's definitely a thing you can do. However, you run a very good chance of fucking up your hands. Stems and sticks, roots, thorns, even just clearing out something you're allergic to. I once got poison ivy all between my fingers because I didn't realize there was poison ivy in the bed I was clearing out.
Yeah.
So don't knock gloves. And I mean, I bet if Reese gave them to her, those gloves, they would have been like, oh, my mate listens so well and is so caring. It's just because it's Lucian and she's mad at him for having other friends.
Yeah. No, I think you're completely right because gloves are a good gift. They're thoughtful. He knows that she likes gardening. That's perfect. Like, nobody likes dirt under your fingernails. That's annoying. Like, and plus, I don't know if they have those little nail brushes in this world. Maybe they
Right.
don't. And so,
Yeah.
But the worst gifts. Okay, let's talk about the worst gifts.
Yeah,
were
please.
Cassian giving Maura a barely there red negligee.
Yeah, gross.
Where? Why? And then she gives him red silk underwear that match the negligee.
Yeah, why do they keep talking about how they fucked all that time ago? Like, Azrael likes them. Can you imagine being like, hey, me and my friend hooked up in college, but like, I know you have a crush on my friend, but I'm going to talk about it 24/7. Like, I'm going to describe his dick in detail, and I'm going to tell you how he likes it, and I'm going to buy him cute little underwear.
Yeah. It's baffling. I was just so baffled by this. Like, what is going on here? The cutest thing, though, was Elaine giving Azrael some Tylenol. I was
Yeah,
like,
because he gets headaches.
that's
That was
cute.
Yeah. Do you think SJM also doesn't know how gardening works, and that's why she was like, gloves suck. People want to feel dirt. Just like the art thing.
Potentially.
New theory.
Yeah.
I think she was like reaching for some reason to dislike a relatively decent gift.
Yeah. No, I think that's foreshadowing because we all know that Elaine is not going to wind up with Lucian. I'm sorry, all the people out there who are like, have these great theories. No, she's not going to wind up with Lucian.
No, because Lucian's going to end up with Tamlin.
Yeah,
Yes.
we all know. That's our great theory.
Okay, so Solstice is over now. They've opened their gifts. It's done. And Cassian walks Nesta home and tries to talk to her, but, you know, you can't help someone who doesn't want it, right? He tries to give her her gift, but she tells him to fuck off, and then he chucks it in the river.
Very mature.
Right. And Nesta is fucking depressed, and she just wants to wallow in it. And, like, girl, I get it.
I just can't be sympathetic to Nesta. First of all, like they're trying to spin it in this book that the reason she's such a bitch is because it's because of her PTSD from the war.
Yeah.
She was always horrible to everyone. Secondly, they've already done the PTSD thing with Feyre. You need to get new drama. This is also the chapter where Cassian laments that someone else got to claim her maidenhead. Like, that's the word he uses. The implication being that she is doing something immoral. She is not just a drunk, she's a slut. Once again, I say, why are you placing any value on the concept of virginity? I want them nervous and inexperienced is a fucked up thing to think, especially from a guy who just had a gay orgy in a sauna.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, this is all set up for Silver Flames. I think my opinion on Nesta is generally that she's always been terrible. Yeah, but I don't buy her PTSD hinging on her dad's death since it's just not clear to me that she actually cared much about her father. And what makes their relationship so meaningful that she has this reaction to his death when Feyre and Elaine are simply coping with their PTSD by booze and baking? Like,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like, she's just a massive bitch to everybody. And I'm just like, this is not a PTSD response, in my opinion. This is just you making your own personality worse.
Yeah. Like, her isolation could be, sure. Like, that's
isolation for sure. Yeah.
Not the
but
rest
like,
of this.
The rest
You've
of this
been
is
like
just
that,
weird
girl.
and mean. Yeah.
You need chemicals. You need some pills, like emotional regulation, something. It's solstice night, blah, blah, blah. Cassie and Nesta are walking home. At the same time, Rhys and Feyre winnow to the cabin. She tells him her birthday wish, which is also his solstice present, shitty solstice present for him. And she wants a baby. That's his wish. Her wish. His gift. So then he eats her out and they fuck against the wall of the cabin. And he also like mind fucks her during this chapter.
Yeah, he does.
It was super weird and gross and I was not a fan.
I think this is also where she sends him the mental image of their son and it just turns him on so much.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does. He orgasms to a mental image of his son. So,
We got to live with that.
yeah, we all have to live with that as a thing we all read together. Then they fall on the floor that is covered in broken picture frames and vase shards. And they do it again right there on that sharp stuff. So like nothing like sex on broken pottery and glass, right? Like I'm sure that's super hot.
Maybe they've got like a blood kink or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I just can't. I don't know. This is maybe the kinkiest thing they've done was have sex on all that glass. Every other time they have sex, it's just like a variation of missionary, just like on a different surface. No doggy style, no nothing. Just like there's more positions out there. Anyways, the next morning he brings her to a patch of land near the river and tells her to build them all a house. He will pay for everything. She just needs to design it, do all the actual work. But this is actually her solstice present. So
Again, I just can't vibe with this relationship. Like, you bought a house without me. I understand expense isn't the issue, but don't you think I might have wanted to have a hand in the choosing?
yeah, but it's not the house. He just bought land. She has to design
I
it.
just know better. What if it's bad land? What if it's swampy?
Well, it's
good
next
land.
to
Is there an easement?
No, it's good. It's amazing because at one point she's like, "This is the most amazing land."
yeah. Isn't it also?
You know what? I'll bet if Lucian bought that land, she wouldn't think it was good.
Also, isn't it the land that's like near where all of like the war happened? So like
Yeah,
or the
it's right there
battle
on the river. It's right like in the
so it's
city.
like battle torn, like probably haunted.
That's how we got it for cheap.
It was for cheap. It was one of those houses that he was talking about in the beginning of the book about how like these are these great estates that were just basically abandoned because of the war.
Yeah.
So now he's just like taking these other people's estates and he's just like, we'll just knock this down and create something new.
Fairy gentrification, I guess. Then I don't know, Rhys then makes amends with other people and he goes back to visit Tamlin that morning. And Tamlin asks if he'll ever be forgiven. And then Rhys doesn't answer, but instead he cooks him an elk steak.
Basically, what he tells him is don't die or succumb to badness because we need a warm body occupying the lands next to the wall. So
Yeah.
good for you. I guess you're a great person, Rhys.
Yeah, like he shows up to tell Tamlin that Summer is going to shore up Springcourt's borders, and then he like butchers this elk with his mind.
Yeah.
And then like he moves like the little pan to the oven with his mind and like starts cooking with his mind. So he does cook, Tabitha.
Yeah. Only with his mind,
Yeah,
though.
but steak, something
True.
manly.
True, it's a manly steak that he cooks.
I will say my dad makes the same argument. When I graduated college, I was like, I don't want a graduation gift. I don't even think I like was supposed to get one anyways. But I was like, you can celebrate the fact that I graduated college by making me a meal. And he was like, perfect, I'll grill shit. And I said, no. Grilling is not cooking. I want like a full homemade by scratch meal. So he made my Nana come over and they made pasta and meatballs and sauce from scratch.
Oh my God, Emma. Oh my God.
I mean, he did a lot of it because my Nana had like terrible arthritis, but still, like,
Pathetic.
Yeah, but he made the arthritic Nana come and do it for him. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, he really cares. So, also,
well,
he
she was
tells
coming to my
Tamlin-
graduation anyways. Okay, sorry.
No. So Rhys also tells Tamlin that he has to eat because Rhys needs him to not go crazy and die as he's an ally. But then he thinks about this future kid. And I think SGM was going for like Rhys like doing some sort of damage control thing with Tamlin. But it comes out as, quote, you can waste away and die after we've sorted out this new world, end quote. And I'm like, that doesn't really inspire goodwill. Like,
No.
at all.
I have a theory after reading this book. Him and Feyre are not good rulers. They're terrible politicians.
They really don't know how to be political
are.
people. No.
Like, I haven't seen any proof of them doing anything good. Like, they have like a town hall session for like an hour a day, basically. Anyways, back to Maura. She, for some reason, is like traveling away to this secret house. And on the way there, she senses a shadow watching her. That's it. That's all we get. I don't know if
have
this is for
nothing
Silver
for that.
Ferns.
Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't read that
Probably
far in
raccoon.
the book.
It must be.
Just
a
a
Prithian
ghost.
raccoon.
Yeah, maybe that's why everyone thinks that she's like an evil betrayer. There's a shadow watching her. Next chapter, Feyre is gifted the abandoned studio that she's been painting in.
Girl is out here acquiring real estate left and right.
And speaking of other girls, the Bat Boys are back at the Illyrian camp to train the girls.
Sure.
Who knows if they want it or not?
Yeah, we don't
But
know. No one knows.
They're doing it. Feyre then opens her studio with a fellow artist, the one that I didn't name way back when. And it's sort of like an art therapy charity for the Fae children of Valaris.
Yeah, this is where I started cackling to myself internally. I was
It's-
like, yeah, of course
it's-
she discovers art therapy.
Really cringe. And also, like, she does some fucked up shit. So after the first kid art therapy session, Reese shows up at the end and then, like, walks Favor home. But she does some dumb shit here.
She says to him that she wants to frame one of the kids' paintings and hang it in her office. So apparently she has an office. The fact is that this painting that she wants to hang is of this kid's parents dying in the Adder attack that happened. And the subject of the painting and that she wants to frame it bothers me less than the act in general. Because wouldn't this be a violation of ethics if she had ethics? I mean, for like a real art therapist. Isn't it fucked up that the kid asked her to throw away the drawing of the most traumatic thing that has ever happened to her? And Feyre was like, no, I will not. And I will put it in my house where other people will see it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not morally sound to keep the painting without asking permission. But these people have a very dicey definition of healing from trauma, so this would never occur to Feyre. I'm not quite sure what their ethics are, honestly,
None.
in the entirety of the book, because, of course, like, revenge first and then, like, healing later.
Yeah.
And then they don't really understand that you can't operate like that without consequences. And then they're like, what consequences? Why do you hate us so much? Like, well, because you took revenge. That's why. And they're like, I don't know.
And you're an art thief.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
the whole
And-
thing is really messy.
And I'm going to talk about how I had sex with everyone that you liked in front of you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fuck on every surface of this house that people apparently live in besides us. So
Yeah.
who
And then-
cares about ethics?
No,
Who
there's
cares
no
about
ethics
morals?
here. No, it's not a thing.
They have sex when people are dying around them in the last book. Jesus Christ. Like,
Yep. Sex to the fine noise of the dying and
of
the
their
sad.
own people. No wonder the Illyrians hate them. Like, Jesus Christ, they probably heard them. They're like,
probably.
oh, this moaning sounds different than those poor people with legs blown off and fingers crushed and holes in their chests. Oh no, is our king and queen, are they fucking right now? Yeah, they are. They absolutely are.
This is the end of the book, by the way.
Yeah,
this
this is the end of the
Done.
book.
I do have some numbers here.
Please.
Court of Frost and Starlight by the numbers. I have the word berry in conjunction with
Gross.
sex comes out to 4. So yay.
That's
that wasn't as bad as
4
I
too
thought it
many.
would be. The word indeed is 36. So 36 indeeds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's too many.
It is. And then Feyre Darling is 5 of those. Wine comes up 39 times. Liquor,
Jesus.
8. And amber liquid is 5. These people were drunk.
Can they not say whiskey because it'll like piss off the Irish? Like, what the fuck?
They were so drunk. If they weren't drunk, they were talking about
Yeah.
getting drunk or hungover from being drunk. Chicken came out to 5. And then Reese winked 6 times and Cassian winked once.
No.
So yay.
I
The
don't think-
numbers.
Yeah. Thank you for that wrap up. I did not realize she used Indeed 36 fucking
36.
times. I can't even tell you the last time I said Indeed. What did we think, guys? Tabitha, you want to go first?
Sure. I think this is the most heteronormative book that I have read in years. Worse than SGM's other books I have read. Everything about it, from the aesthetics to the characters' interactions, screams Instagram trad wife to me. Feyre is going off to work with children and apparently barely do any governing. The oppression of Illyrian females, not her problem. And then the being immortal part, but also needing to have a baby at 20 years old. Like, what, are you bored already, Feyre? Or is this just this, that the patriarchal culture you're part of tells you that this is what you need to do? I hated everyone in this book because they all seemed miserable. Like even
did.
characters who were normally kind of upbeat, like Maura, is miserable in this book. Like, do they even like each other's company? You know, a found family is formed usually as a less toxic alternative.
Yeah.
Worst book of the year.
Whoa.
This is Tabitha
Maura.
laying out some truths.
Yeah, whoa. I'm here for it.
I have read this book not once, not twice, but thrice.
Dedicated.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. I must hate myself. The first 2 times were audio, and I barely absorbed anything because I was just so bored. And then, so I finally read it, like eyeballs on words, read it. And I was still bored, but like I at least know what happened now, so that's nice. But this was mainly vibes to me. Like, everyone acts like a drunk college underclassman experiencing a snow day.
Yeah.
But they're rich, so occasionally they get a fancy scarf or buy a building.
Not without joy.
Yeah, no, they don't do
Yeah,
it with
that's
joy.
true.
Like,
Yeah.
they're doing a snow day like somberly, and occasionally they like, you know,
Yeah.
buy a bracelet.
Like they're like the nerd kid who's like sad school's canceled. Aw, I can't
Yeah.
do math.
Yeah, right. Like, they wanted to do
Oh,
math.
Tabitha, were you that kid?
No.
You just made kind of like a contemplating face, like, but it kind of looked like a little sad, and I was like, oh no, was that you? Maura, I feel like 10% it could have been you though.
No, it really wasn't. I promise.
Okay, phew.
I read my own books, thank you. Oh,
Yeah.
also, once we're done recording, I have a question to ask you about dinosaurs, but keep going.
Oh, okay.
So I think what I have learned here is that you can't throw these extremely shallow characters into a novella that is completely character driven.
Yeah.
Without an external plot driving the action, these people just get drunk and buy jewelry, and that's not really that interesting. Even when the series' core message about trauma turns up, it feels meaningless to me. Like, they discover art therapy and they throw a few nameless kids at it. They don't work to try to reach out to Nesta, like, really, or like, or even Tamlin, or try to achieve meaningful, lasting peace with these characters. Like, Rhys just tells Tamlin to die after he stops being useful to him, and Nesta
Yeah.
gets the judgmental pondering over who took her virginity, and like, that's gross. That's just
Yeah.
super gross. So. Also, there's a shit ton of clunky writing in here. Like, I talk about the syntax. Like, I'm a syntax like lover. I have to admit, I'm sorry, but most of the conversations are filler. They don't really track well, and most of these characters come off looking out of character or immature or annoying. So a solid 0 out of 10 stars for me. Merry Solstice, everyone.
This was a mess, like plot wise, tonally, perspective wise. I don't know. I took notes for it, but like the only thing that ever really happened was like it was Christmas. It was Solstice. Like, that was it. That's the only really memorable event. Everything else, I'm like, it didn't seem like it mattered. Everything that happened plot wise just feels like it was setting up the next book, but like nothing major enough happened because you don't have to read this one. You like just go into the next one, and already things that happen in here, I'm only like, again, on chapter 5 of Silver Flames, and things that happen in here happen in Silver Flames. Like, they literally got to the chapter and Cassian's like, I'm not even mad about the fact that, you know, Nesta's sleeping with all these other hoes out there. I don't even care that she gave her maidenhood away to anyone, whatever. But it's like super judgmental too. Nothing major happened for these characters, again, because it couldn't. So like, that's what the next book's for. And it wasn't even like a fun Christmas book where everyone was like having a good time and like the fun, joyful spirit of the Hallmark Channel. No, it was everyone was dealing with their trauma, which I know is like the theme of this whole series. But even in this, it was a little messy. It felt very off. And I said this earlier, but like, I kind of don't like Rhys and Faye right now. Like, nothing in here convinced me that they were good rulers, like that they were like taking care of their people. Like, everything that they did was actually for them.
Yeah, there's a lot
It
of
was
weirdness
gross.
with that, right? Like,
Yeah.
This is the classic problem with romances that go on too long.
Yeah.
Is if what pulls you into the story is like a will they, won't they, oh boy, I get to see them get together, then you see them stay together if
Yeah.
it keeps going. And it's hard to keep up that sort of, I don't know if tension is the right word, but it's hard to keep that momentum going, because when you can't focus on, oh my God, will the two of them get together, you start to see them as like the real fucked up people they are.
Yeah.
And so in this case, it's like, oh, okay, so Farah and Rhys-Ander together. Now we get to see them do other stuff, and they suck at the other stuff.
I will say, before I started getting super into romantasy, I was a big fan of sports romance, which is hysterical because I fucking hate sports. But it was like rugby and soccer and like ones that I didn't have to really know about because America doesn't give a shit about them. And there's like a very similar sort of like found family thing happening, because like each book would cover like a different player in it, but there would always be moments where like, you know, because it's sports, the teams are together and all the players are together and you get to like experience them all together and stuff. And I feel like maybe ACOTAR just should have been more like that somehow. Like, you're leading up to like the World Cup, which happens only every so many years. Who the fuck knows? I don't know anything about sports. So like that would make more sense, but it's not.
I feel like that is what she's doing, but it's just taken her a really long time because, you know, then the next book focuses on Cassian and Nesta.
Yeah.
And then maybe the next one on Elaine. I don't fucking know.
No, it's supposed to
I'm not
be.
going to
That's
read
what
it.
Everyone keeps. You are going to read it for
think.
this podcast.
I believe you told me one more, and one more was Court Frost and Starlight.
You're not even going to read Silver Flames with us?
No.
Okay. Mara and I will do it by ourselves. I thought we...
Yeah,
well, we'll talk
we'll
about
have
this
to.
later. Yeah.
All right. I do have a small book rec for Christmassy themes. This book came out last year. It's called Just Like Magic by Sarah Hogel. It's not fairies, but it is a Christmas romance where a woman falls in love with the holiday spirit.
All right.
So she takes him as a +1 to her crazy family get together. It's surreal, it's funny, it's over the top in absolutely all ways, and it's fabulous. So if you want a Christmas romance, I cannot recommend enough. It's super cute. So
Cute.
go out there
I'm
and
gonna
grab
add it to my list.
I didn't put one in here, but I did look through Christmassy things I had read. They're all pretty bad, but I will say that there is one author who writes gay romance named Kira Andrews, and they're really trashy. I'll say that. But they're really easy to read and they're pretty fun in terms of like being able to kind of mentally detach. She does insecurity really well in her characters, so it's like fun to kind of watch that turn around. She has a series called Festive Fakes. There's 3 books in it. It's same universe, different characters. The first one is called The Christmas Deal. Again, it's a contemporary romance, no fantasy or anything. And if you want a gay seasonal romance that you don't have to think too hard about, there's that.
All right. Final wrap up. Who are we? I'll go first. Hate to say it, but I think for the 4th book in a row, I'm Nesta. I just want to be myself and wallow in my own self-pity.
Bitter alcoholic whore.
Yeah, truly. You got me down to a T. No, I just like when I'm sad, I just want to like be by myself, and I don't even care that telling people how I feel like is helpful, and like I know it's helpful. I would just rather cut off my nose to spite my face. Also, I hate hanging out with people when all they want to do is like talk about their husbands and babies.
Mm-hmm.
I would say maybe I am Lucian. He does seem to be totally over the Court of Dreams, too.
Yeah. I'm Elaine. I'm just an Elaine person. I have to accept this for myself at this point. I garden, I bake, I hyperfixate. I'm, God help me, very interested in what Sarah J. Maas is going to do with her story in the next ACOTAR book. And I hate that I just said that. The shame is overwhelming, but there you go.
You know, at least in this book, Elaine stays in her own goddamn lane.
Yeah,
She does. She stays in her own goddamn lane. And is that not me? Like,
yeah. And I feel like I'm also Nesta because I'm a huge ass hypocrite. And I talked so much mad shit about SJM, but I already admitted in this, and I'm admitting again, I've already started the next book. But I've been looking forward to her stupid romance this whole time. I've really just been waiting to get to that chapter-long blowjob. This has all been just a slow edge for me. If you have a hot take or book you'd like us to recap, you can message us on our socials. You can find the links in our show notes. If you like us, please rate us and leave reviews. It makes us so happy. Until next time, bye.
bye. Merry Solstice.
Merry Christmas. Merry Hanukkah. What? That's not what people say. Happy
Merry
Hanukkah.
all the holidays.
Yo, Saturnalia.
Yeah.
Saturnalia.
Merry Saturnalia, everybody, and all who celebrate.
Marry them all.
Bye.
Bye.